Two quick things before I start the video. If you guys are enjoying my content and you want to help support me and support my multiple videos a day of Town of Salem 2, then you can go ahead and scroll down and click that fat subscribe button because I'm going to be pushing out content like crazy for you guys. And they're trying to get the videos going for Town of Salem 2. So that way you guys have pretty consistent content all the way up until release. But anyways, we have a Discord that you guys can join as well. It's called the Horseman's Hideout, a Town of Salem 2 community Discord. And in here you have the library made by Curtis himself. So if you're interested, I also have the tags on, by the way. Not the first time I've recorded this. Then we have like a bunch of things talking about modifiers, game modes, even the Necronomicon priority list. So yeah, it's pretty neat. So if you guys are interested in that, there's a link to that in the description. There's also a link to my Discord as well as my Twitch in the description down below. I almost said Discord again. But yeah, if you're interested in watching me stream Town of Salem 2 at points or just being part of my Discord, then boom, there you go. Anyways, hope you have a great rest of your day, and let's get on to the video. Hello everyone! You guys already know what time it is. It is time to make a Town of Salem rolls tier list. So this is for all the new rolls in Town of Salem. We're going to be kind of breaking down everything, kind of giving my opinions on things and how everything works. This is me after playing a few games, probably about 20-ish or something like that. So I have a little bit of experience under my belt. I've gotten to kind of get the feel of all the roles. I'm not quite as confused as I was when I first started playing. Still is a little bit of confusing stuff going on, but you know, we're not too exactly worried about that. Anyways, big shout out to Brady. He is someone from the Town of Salem 2 community Discord. There's a link for that down in the description down below if you're interested. There's also a link to my Discord. There is also a nice, juicy subscribe button. If you guys are interested, it's 100% free for you guys. It's going to be a whole ton of free Town of Salem 2 content. Hitting that subscribe button helps me out more than you can imagine. But yeah, anyways, big shout out to Brady for making this tier list. Let's just straight go into it. Starting off, we have Admirer. Admirer, I would say, is probably a solid A tier. It forces 1-for-1s. There is usually no downside to Admirer unless you get like a town power roll. And like even then, like it's not even really that much of a downside. The one downside to Admirer for Town is you become life-linked. It is quite literally lovers from Town of Salem 1. So if the Admirer dies, your lover dies. If your lover dies, then you as Admirer will die either way. So just keep that in mind. And also, like say for example, your lover's with a Conjurer. That Conjurer, you know, they're basically kind of locked, like in a situation where if you hang this Conjurer, you'll also lose the Admirer. So you kind of give up your Admirer in order to get this Conjurer. So at some points, it can be useful to do that as Coven. It just really depends. And the timing of Admirer is kind of on the brink, or not really the brink. It just really depends on the game. It can be pretty powerful, it can be kind of weak, just depends. Anyways, then we have Amnesiac. Amnesiac, I'm gonna say is a solid C tier because there are so many bad rolls and you're always stuck with one of the first rolls that show up in the graveyard. So yeah, just keep that one in mind. Amnesiac is not how it used to be. You don't get to pick your roll. It's 100% RNG related. So yeah, solid C tier for me. So and it's also a town roll now. Just putting that out there. Arsonist, still the same. I'm gonna say Arsonist is probably an A tier still. There are things that can counter it pretty easily, but for the most part, you stay pretty quiet, and Coven can do things against you, but also can't at the same time. So yeah, it's not too bad. Baker is, I'm gonna do B for Baker. Baker is pretty decent. And actually, I'm gonna put the Arso above Admirer because Arso is definitely more powerful than Admirer in most cases. Baker, I'm gonna put it a solid B tier because it isn't exactly the most powerful of the neutral apocalypse rolls, but it is a pretty decently powerful roll. Jug aka Berserker over here. Again, probably a B tier. It isn't exactly the most powerful role, but if you can get to the point where you become War, then you are pretty good. So yeah, just keep that in mind. Bodyguard is probably a C. We're gonna go with low B tier because you do have 2 self vests now. You still end up dying if you do get a protect off, so there is still that risk, and you still only protect against 1 attack. But I think that extra self vest is enough to bump it up into like low B tier. Otherwise, I would say it'd probably be high C tier. Then we have Cleric. It's quite literally just Doctor, but it gives powerful defense. So I'm gonna say that it's a little bit better than Bodyguard. It isn't quite as powerful as the Neutral Apocalypse rolls for obvious reasons. These are meant to be single rolls to take on the entire town. So isn't quite there. And then let's talk about Conjurer. Instant S tier. I don't care what any of you think. Conjurer is probably the most busted role in the game because you can just click to nuke someone and there is no counterplay to it. If a mayor reveals, then you just nuke them and you don't have to worry about it anymore. It's astral. It happens during the day. You can prevent, like, literally as soon as a mayor reveals, mayor gets nuked. I've seen it happen before. It's not fun, especially if your town. Yeah, Conjurer is stupid OP. Then we have Coroner, D tier. I shouldn't really have to explain myself, but most of the TI in this game are pretty terrible. Coroner, you get to visit someone in the graveyard and then you check for their killer. So if their killer dies, then you're useless until there is another death by someone else. And then also, you have to find that person to begin with. So, and then it can be affected by so many different things that it doesn't even matter. Going on to that, Investigator, I would say is probably a little bit better than Coroner because at least it isn't dependent on finding that one singular person. You can find anyone that kills. So there is that. And then there was another one that I was thinking of that's Sheriff is honestly just better Investigator. Or Investigator is actually just worse Sheriff. That's probably the better way of looking at it. So these TI are all D tiers. So you have Sheriff, Investigator, and Coroner. And I would say it's probably directly in that order. Coven Leader, I'd say probably high C tier, maybe low B tier, because Coven Leader quite literally is Godfather, except you have the opportunity to either give yourself a non-roll blockable powerful attack, or you get to have basic defense. Or is it basic defense? No, it's not basic. I think it's powerful defense. One or the other. You can either boost your defense or boost your attack. And actually, ironically, I've never seen a Coven Leader in a game yet. Just know that Coven Leader automatically gets the book starting off. Necronomicon is given out day 1 to Coven. Yeah, so Coven starts off with it. And of course, like in Town of Salem 1, Coven Leader always starts with it. Crusader is it's a pretty decent role. I would say probably high B tier because it gives powerful attack and you get to attack someone off. So it is just literally better Bodyguard to a degree. But I would probably say it was like A tier, maybe like mid A tier, if not for the fact you can attack town members. So yeah, just keep that one in mind. Death is pretty sweet. I'm gonna say it's a mid A tier because Death, the way that Death works is if you do not get hung the day that you turn into Death, you just win the game, and that's it. So it quite literally comes down to the wire. It's almost to the point where Coven and Town have to work together in order to win. So yeah, that is a pretty powerful role to say the least. Then we have Deputy. Honestly, Deputy is a little bit powerful, or a little bit more powerful than Death, because you have other townies that you can work with. Actually, I'm going to say it's a little bit weaker than Death, because there is the aspect where it's vigilante during the day and you instantly die if you get something incorrect. So you could lose 2 town. I do have a video about that. I might leave a card, I might leave a comment. If you guys are curious on seeing that video about the deputy shenanigans and I don't have it somewhere for whatever reason, go ahead and drop a comment and I will leave you guys a link and all that sorts of stuff. Just remind me. Times get tough sometimes. Doomsayer is a pretty decent roll. You get to guess 3 rolls. There's things that kind of mess around with that. If there isn't 3 people left alive, then you just lose. But yeah, you guess all 3 rolls. I think they're all dealt attacks. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, you get to. It's a really cool roll. I will say that. I do like the guessing rolls that aren't like super OP. This one isn't OP because you have to guess all 3 correctly in order for it to work. Dreamweaver, pretty solid coven, honestly. The insanity from it makes it to where it's hard for you to be able to vote things. It's hard for you to be able to visit people unless another townie visits you. And if there's a jinx, then that's a free ambush off. There's just a lot of things that are honestly just huge off of it. But yeah, Enchanter. I can't remember if Enchanter is the one that is the janitor. I mean, not janitor, but the disguiser or the framer forger rework. Is it the framer forger? Or that could be the illusionist. One or the other. I would say they're still relatively the same in terms of power. Whichever one it is that actually makes to where townies aren't or that coven aren't. All right, so we're gonna say the illusionist is the one that makes it to where I'm pretty sure it's illusionist, yeah, because this makes sense for the wills and stuff. I'm going on one big rant. So illusionist makes it to where your coven members show as Inno. That's honestly relatively weak. I would say probably low C tier, maybe even D tier. Yeah, I'm gonna say D tier honestly, because that isn't even really that useful in most cases. It does mess with like these rolls, but these rolls are already pretty useless anyways. And then we have Enchanter. Enchanter's pretty decent. I would say probably tied with Coven Leader. It isn't inherently super overpowered, but it is pretty decent. Executioner. Executioner's pretty solid now. I'd say low A tier because you can pick your target and kind of just go from there and then try to like frame someone. You don't even have to like kind of like have the risk of going after a confirmed veteran at that point. But yeah, it's pretty solid. Pestilence, a little bit worse than these ones. Probably solid, like under Admirer or Admirer, a little bit under Admirer, because I mean it's still the same. You still have everyone hyperfixate on you afterwards. You just have your powerful attack, or is it unstoppable? I don't know. You still have the second to highest attack along with invincible defense. Famine. I'm not gonna talk about famine yet, but we'll get onto that one eventually. Like 'cause some of these apocalypse rolls are kind of but like at the same time they're pretty decent if you know how to play them right. So then we have Hexmaster. Hexmaster is still a pretty decent roll overall. I would say probably underneath Crusader. The Hex Bomb is always powerful. It's really the only thing that kind of screws you over is getting Necronomicon because it's harder to secretly get that Hex Bomb. And there's always like a lot of infighting that goes around whenever there's more people. So, and like a lot more mistrust. And it's harder to narrow it down to specifically you in the end. Jailer, this is going to be a hot take. Jailer is C tier now. Because not only if you execute wrong, you entirely lose your ability to execute and jail, but you also cannot consecutively jail anymore. You cannot come out as jailer at any point because you're going to get nuked by Conjurer Yeah, Jailer is honestly C tier. I'd say it's probably worse than Amnesiac, and the only reason why Amnesiac is better than Jailer is because Amnesiac can become Jailer. So I've seen that moment happen before, where the Jailer died first. Anyways, then we got Jester. Jester is still probably, I don't know, low B tier. It's still exactly the same. I mean, people are always cautious of Jester, and they're always going to be cautious of Jester, so it still is a pretty difficult role to kind of feel for, and all that sorts of stuff. Jinx is Ambusher. There isn't really too much different about it. I would say that's probably better than the TPs, so kind of like mid B tier. And yeah, I wouldn't say it's better than the Apocalypse roles, because these roles are just better overall. There's a lot more counterplay to Jinx if there's multiple visits. Lookout, I would say it's high C tier for the same reason that Jailer is low C tier. Is Jailer, TPLO, all that other sorts of meta, all completely dead. Thank you, by the way, Miles, for the sub. I appreciate you. You are a lifesaver. You guys are gonna be cool like Miles and Morden. Man, 2 people in a row. If you guys are gonna be cool like them, go ahead and drop a sub down below. There are little comments / things that pop up whenever I'm recording and streaming and all that sorts of stuff. So you could have your name featured in a video, just like these guys are. But yeah, Lookout is kind of dead for the same reason that TPLO meta is dead. It isn't exactly as powerful as it used to be anymore. You can't coordinate with TP, nothing like that too much anymore. Mayor is worse than Jailer because for the same reason you can get nuked. At least you have 3 votes at all point in time though. But the amount of times that I've seen a Conjurer just nuke Mayor as soon as they revealed is kind of stupid, but is what it is. Adusa is Janitor now. I would put that high C tier because it does have the added benefit that all Coven can see your stones down. So it isn't exactly quite useless. And honestly, you know what? I'll say low B tier. I don't think that'd be worth C tier. Because maybe if it was just Janitor, C tier, but yeah, this part is definitely it's definitely a solid B tier probably. Monarch is pretty good, honestly. Where would I put it though? TP, I put it above the TP as well. Not quite as powerful as Jinx, but you get to give someone an extra vote. The reason why it's not quite A tier is because you can we've seen this before. You can give Coven members extra votes. So just keep that in mind. You give them an extra vote, and then yeah, that's a moment. But you get basic defense. It's a pretty neat role. I definitely think that's a pretty nice addition to the game. Then we have Retributionist. Retri is honestly A tier now. You can consistently reuse roles, as far as I'm aware of. I don't think anything rots anymore, but that I know for for Retri, it doesn't anymore. Necro, I'm not exactly sure of. So, you know, I'm gonna say high B tier. If it does, or if you can consistently reuse roles, which I feel like I saw that it couldn't, because my a recent video that I had, I'm not gonna spoil it, but my Necro was having some issues with their dead bodies. But yeah, I'm gonna put it at solid B tier. If it isn't, if it doesn't have the rotting issue, then I'd put it low A tier. And Retri, since we're on the same subject, I'm probably gonna put a little bit higher than Deputy because you can just consistently reuse roles over and over again. And the only downside is you can only use TP on yourself one time, but you can use it permanently on someone else. So, you know what? I'm gonna put it below Deputy because it does rely on townies dying. So, and then like the right townies dying as well. So for that reason, yeah, I'd say it's a little bit weaker. Famine is probably, I'd say it's probably about equal to Pestilence, maybe a little bit easier, because it does narrow the game down to 3 people. But that does harm you in the end because it is pretty easy to narrow it down. And then the way that works is whenever you initiate the famine, whenever you give bread to 3 people, unless you're hung, then everyone except for those 3 people die, and then like a starve countdown works or starts going down, you can visit someone to accelerate the bread decay by 1 day, and then if there's less than 3 players, then you die, I think, or maybe it was 2. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, so you basically have to be last man standing, and you have to like kind of coordinate to get everyone dead at the same time. From what my understanding of it is, I haven't played as it yet, but that is a possibility. Pirate, still same old, same old. You leave the game now, you don't get to really do shenanigans, so I'd honestly low C tier, maybe a little bit better than Jailer even, but yeah, like once you're done with your plunders, you just leave and you're done with the game. That's it. But anyways, we have Pestilence. It's still about the same. Pestilence, I would say, is higher. I'd probably say like an A tier, like a high A tier. But then whenever you convert to Pestilence, then you drop. Because Plague Bearer is easier to hide as than Pestilence is. And sometimes that works to your benefit, sometimes that doesn't. You know, I'll bump it down just a few notches. It's a little bit worse than Arso because at least Arso you can kill people, whereas PB you can't. Poisoner is now just consort, so you can poison people. So for that aspect, maybe a little bit higher than Dusa. Isn't exactly the most powerful role. I'd still say it's probably a B tier. It's pretty good. Potion Master, on the other hand, man, I love Potion Master. It was so much fun. I would say it's probably one of like the higher B tiers for the Coven, because you now have infinite potions. You can use them however much you want. You just cannot use your attack potion until you get Necronomicon. And your heal potions, I don't know if heal potions before worked on Coven, because I hardly ever used the heal potions, but they actually have a use now. They're exactly like cleric ability down here, except you get to use that on all of your Coven members. So we got to mess around with that whenever I played a Potion Master game. It was pretty fun. Prosecutor, you get 2 prosecutes now, so it's honestly pretty solid up here. Maybe, yeah, I would wait, or I would say probably about right here, because you still run the chance of getting hit by the Hangman. So just keep that one in mind. Watch out for Hangman, and don't prosecute wrong. You have 2 prosecutes and you are unique, so you get confirmed from that point. Deputy gets confirmed as well, but Deputy only gets 1 shot. So there can be up to 6 deputies, just like any other role. But yeah, it is what it is. Man, some of these roles are really cool, some kind of suck. Psychic is kind of a meh. I'd say it's a higher C tier because you get to control your actual outcomes a little bit more often. However, people just don't know how to set up their will. Like, they don't know to mention who they visited. And I get, like, some people might say, like, oh, hey, the first person in my will right here, the first person I visited, but, like, you gotta make it more clear than that. Come on. Ritualist, S tier. Not quite as powerful as Conjurer, but you still get to nuke someone. And the only downside is if you guess wrong for whatever reason, 1, you're bad, and 2, you'll get revealed to the entire town. So Conjurer, you don't have to worry about that, and you also don't have to guess as Conjurer. Seer, you know, once you die, you're a pretty powerful role, but for the sake of everything, I'm gonna say it's a little bit more powerful than Deputy, because you get to basically narrow down 1-for-1s, and you get to create situations where people are tied together with your results. So Seer is a really fun role. I'm definitely a big fan of it. I don't know why people are complaining about it, saying that it's broken, because, I mean, again, you just have to rely on people saying that it's real. You're only useful if you die, which is why I'm putting it in mid A tier. Then we have SK. SK has the new ability for Bloodlust, but I don't think it's quite as powerful as many of the other roles. Purely in the fact that, like, you know, you're just a basic attacking role. You get a powerful attack, so you can get rid of the neutral Apocalypse rolls, other NKs and things like that, but for the most part, it's kind of meh. Shroud, I would say, is also around the same tier, because Shroud, yeah, it's pretty good. I like how it works. It kind of reminds me of Arma, except you get to attack in Town of Salem Anticipation. If you guys are familiar with that role from that specific Discord Town of Salem custom stuff, I don't know how to explain it. I do have videos about that. If you're interested in those as well, you can go ahead and let me know in the comments below, and I will fetch those for you. For the same reason that Pestilence or PB is high A tier, I would say Soul Collector is also up there, because you do get to just lay low, and you passively get to collect souls. So you do eventually get to turn into war or death, and honestly, the faster you turn into death, the easier chance you have to win the game, because the more people there are, the less likelihood they'll find you. So yeah, I'd probably say that that Soul Collector or Soul Reaper, I don't know, Soul Collector is pretty high up there. Spy is high F or D, I can put it right there. High D. The bugs can be useful, but they're very situational and they kind of just suck, honestly. I would say Escort slash I don't even remember what it's actually called now. I know it by Town Drunk, but it's now called something else related to alcohol something. I can't even recall what it might be. Tavern Keeper or something like that. Is it Tavern Keeper? I don't know, something like that. It's just Escort, except you can't permanent role block anyone anymore, which makes sense. I kind of lean that way with my own game, which you can learn more about in my Discord, link in the description down below. I went the same route for that, because it's just a nice quality of life thing. No one likes being permanently role blocked. Tracker, I'd say probably high C tier, pretty good, but at the same time it's kind of bad. Trapper is also pretty decent role, a little bit lower than Tracker, because you do have to have that waiting a day in order to get that to function. Trickster, Trickster's a pretty good role. It's kind of like Trans, but a little more like brainable, if that makes sense. I'm gonna say that this is pretty high up there. It is a pretty decent role in terms of, you know, just being a role in itself. And yeah, then we have veteran still. Honestly, I'm gonna say high D tier for veteran, because like there can be so many vet baits now. Like there can be up to 6 veterans. Like, imagine trying to visit people with 6 veterans and how cancer that's gonna be. Yeah, that's part of the game now. Then we're gonna go with Vigilante, a little bit lower than the Escort, because again, you run that risk of just kaplowing yourself, but is what it is. Voodoo Master, honestly, kind of low. It is still relatively easy to determine if someone is blackmail or not, or whatever the equivalent is in this. Not exactly sure on that. War is pretty good. You have the best attack, the best defense in the game, so you have to plow through people and then you just win. I'm pretty sure you have Rampage and stuff like that, so it is a pretty powerful role, and then it's a pretty significant bump up from Berserker. And obviously, like Jug with Berserker, the more kills you get, the more powerful you get. Werewolf, probably a C tier. Alright, you know what? No. I'd say it's probably like in the same range as these other NKs. I would say probably a little bit higher up though, because it is powerful. The only downside is you have to wait 2 days to attack, like night 1 and night 3. I mean by that. And then there's multiple werewolves now. It's possible, so just be prepared for that, everyone. Wilding, this is gonna be a little controversial. I think Wilding is an S tier. Because of the sheer amount of information you can get away with a lot of claims, and you can get a lot of information for your coven in order to determine who is town, who is not town, who's fake claiming. So you could spot out some of the neutral apocalypse roles or some of the neutral evils, just because of the fact that you don't see them visit and they say they visited. But yeah, it's a pretty decent role, I would say. And then Coven Leader, or not Coven Leader, this is Witch. Witch is a new thing now. I'm gonna say high C tier because it's still just Witch. You don't start off with the book, so you just get the witch people around. You get to do shenanigans, and there is no perma-witching, so rejoice to you werewolf and SK lovers out there. You don't get to be permanently abused all game. But yeah, I think that was a pretty solid video. That was 30 minutes to explain every single role and my positioning of them in the tier list right here. So let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. Let me know if you have any disagreements or if you agree with anything. And yeah, we can kind of debate about that down in the comments below. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will see you guys in the next one.